Hello, third video of our series on commentated chess games on chess.com. Okay, 10-minute game against Lamro Clemens. I'm playing with the black pieces again. Okay, I get knight f3. I will take one of the requests from our viewers and I will play d5 and see if I can get the Tarrasch. I don't know what my opponent is gonna play. Okay, no Tarrasch today. He played b3. I'm guessing a double fianchetto, or will he play with e3? We don't know yet. e3, okay. What I don't like is this pin. Often when I play these lines, I go a6, and then knight c6. Of course, a6 is not maybe the move you want to make in the opening, but well, it's a d4, d5 opening. It's a bit more close than e4, e5, so I think I can get away with it. Okay, d4, I'm going to play knight f6. If he takes, I think I can just give the check and get the pawn back. Or even play e6, and I don't see how he easily defends the pawn on c5. Oops. That was a misclick. Okay, I'm back. Knight b2, d2. Okay, I will just play e6. Bishop e7, just regular development. I'm not going to do anything crazy. Bishop e7, or maybe I have to take now, because if I play bishop e7, he might take, and I will have to take back. Not the end of the world, but I think I will take here. He's gonna take with the pawn. Okay, he's the one to play with hanging pawns. If I take, he'll take with the b pawn. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this bishop in that case, though. Though it seems playable, maybe I will just go bishop e7 here. My only concern is that at some point he goes c5 and starts to throw the pawns at me, and I can't break here. That's maybe my main thing to worry about. But I think if c5, I can pretty quickly play b6. Probably. But for the time being, well, it's a tough decision. I'm also thinking just about taking. I'll probably play bishop d6 and castle. Let's just play normal chess. Bishop d6 or bishop e7 is another question. Well, bishop e7, I think I want to keep an eye on this pawn. And then I will castle and see if I can get b6 in. Bishop e2, okay, he's playing a bit passive for the hanging pawns. So it's not the end of the world, but normally when you have hanging pawns, you want to take advantage of the extra space that you have. And well, he has a knight on d2 instead of c3. He plays the bishop to e2 instead of d3, so I guess it's not a terrible version for us. He castles. Okay, I'm thinking of b6. Sometimes you sacrifice this pawn even to isolate this one on b4, on d4. Sorry. I don't know if I have enough for that. I will just play b6, bishop b7, and see how it goes from there. I'd much rather have this pawn back on a7, honestly, because b6 is somewhat weak, and I don't have any bishop a6 to put pressure on that pawn. That's still fine, I think, at least. Okay, queen c2. I guess rooks to c1 and d1 are coming, or e1 and d1, maybe, more likely. e3, okay. It's a bit of slow and unnecessary move, because I wasn't thinking about playing knight b4, honestly. I would just play rook c8 now. The rook and the queen are on the same file, which tends to be good for me. I'll probably have to play a bit quicker. It's 7 minutes already for me, and we're only on move 13. We're only on move 13. It's not... I spent a lot of time on this. Rook fd1. Now I'm seriously thinking about b5. Because if I play b5, c takes b, now I have knight takes d4 with a discard attack on the queen. I will do it. I don't know what comes out of it, but he would probably play c5, but then I can blockade those 2 pawns. I mean, he gets a protected passed pawn on c5, but at the same time, I'm blocking those pawns. And one of the techniques against the hanging pawns, that is, these pawns that don't have any pawns on the adjacent files to defend them. One of the techniques against them is to make one of them move, so they weaken the squares around them, and we can fix them where they are. Well, now he gets an IQP, isolated queen's pawn. Maybe not in its best version, I hope. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. They have any discover attacks that work here? It looks pretty tempting. I think I'm playing. I think I'm playing this move 95. The queen moves somewhere. I started changing pieces, which is something that I probably like in the situation with an IQP. I mean, in the endgame, that pawn can be very weak. Though what I'm thinking about here is that knight b4 might work. I mean, he only has queen b3. All the other squares are taken. And I can play bishop d5. I mean, I'm so close to capturing that queen, but I don't think it will end up happening. I'm thinking knight b4, queen b3, bishop d5, queen a4. I think he's more or less off the hook. Now then I will play knight e5. I won't second guess this because I mean, this is comfortable from a positional perspective, so I want to change some minor pieces and then play an endgame against that weakness on d5. Well, I'm not going to change the rooks because he just gets the c file. I will play queen d5. Maybe not the best blockader, the queen, but this is not something that he can just ignore. He can't put a knight on e5. And I don't know what I'm going to do following this, but my pieces are looking pretty good. Okay, it's not easy to find a move or plan for him either. I'm thinking maybe I missed this because I was thinking rook a8, but he has bishop takes b7 and he attacks the queen. It's not the easiest move to play bishop takes a6, but once you see that you have this intermediate move, it might make sense. He might pick up that pawn. We'll have compensation no matter what, I think, but it wasn't completely necessary. I think bishop takes a6. Have bishop c6 or rook a. Oh, he took it well. Well done. That was a good one. I think I have to take. Rook a8, bishop takes b7, queen takes b7. I also attack the bishop, and the queen. He has to go back to c2. How can I continue attacking him? Rook c8, because queen e2. He's escaping. I might get something back by invading with a queen on b3. I don't know if it's enough, but it certainly looks like counterplay. I will do that probably. The other thing I can do is taking on a6 and putting a rook on c2, which looks tempting. At the same time, my last rank is not particularly well defended, even though he doesn't have checks yet. He might go rook d2 there. It's a tough one for me. I will play rook a8 and start harassing the queen. Has to take now. I'll pre-move this one. I think it's going to happen. Bishop takes, queen takes. Has to go back to c2. And then I'll play rook c8. And I could have taken here. Okay, that wasn't great by me. But I will play queen b3 anyway. And I think I do have enough compensation. I mean, I'm probably getting something back soon. And this bishop is just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible piece. Okay, now I can just play rook c2 and I'm winning the bishop on b2. There are no tricks on the last rank. I will always have something like this. Well, that was a big blunder, I think. Yep, I don't see it. I mean, queen a5, I just take on b2, and if any checks, I always have bishop f8. He should play rook c1, I think. In which case I was thinking just of rook b8, attacking the bishop on b2, And I'm pretty sure I'm getting this pawn back in any case, but now it's even better. I mean, I'm definitely taking this. Well, he was clearly worried about the back rank, which was not yet a huge problem. Okay, I have to take with the rook. It's not like I have to, but it's pretty comfortable because if any checks, I even have this, and I might just go after the rook and exchange it with rook b1. Okay, he left the rook unattended there, and well, now I only have to do. Okay, he resigned. Yeah, I think it was quite well played by my opponent. I mean, it was very close, and then well, that final blunder was what tilted the game in my favor. Really, I do want to have a look at what happened if I had compensation for that pawn. Um, I mean, we can go through the opening pretty quickly because I don't think it was that eventful. I do like these A6. I mean, I'm much more comfortable avoiding these lines. And I think I can get away with it here. Knight C6, D4, Knight F6. Apparently this is more or less alright. Knight B2, D2. The engine suggests D takes C5. Though I'm not really sure it's a big problem. I can play E6 anyway. And then capture the pawn back. And it's alright. He doesn't have B4. That's important. I'll just take. So okay, let's go back. He played a natural move anyways, knight bd2, and well, e6, c4. There are so many structures that can appear here. I could get an IQP if he takes and I take back, and then he gets rid of this pawn on c5. Then my pawn on d5 will be isolated. I chose to take though, and leave him with hanging pawns. So he gets a lot of space advantage. But well, my mission is to have these 2 pawns attacked all the time, try to make one of them move and weaken them. And hopefully even capture one of them. At least get some good squares around them. So bishop e7, bishop e2. As I said in the game, I wasn't overly worried about his space advantage because for a couple of hanging pawns, I think this is maybe not the most active position with them. I'm not getting attacked on kings immediately. The bishop on e2 is not particularly scary. I'll be more worried about bishop on d3. So I was pretty happy with this. So well, he castled. I played b6, and it's interesting that the engine even endorsed b5. It was alright. If pawn takes, bishop takes, b5, queen b6. In the game, something similar ended up happening, but because I dropped the pawn on a6, but I still get compensation. I mean, I'm playing against the IQP, which is pretty weak, and his position is not particularly active. And this a pawn could definitely become an asset for white in the endgame, but there are still a lot of pieces on the board. So if I manage to trade this bishop, then I'm likely going to put a lot of pressure on a4. I think the compensation lies in the fact that these 2 pawns are easily attackable, and at the same time, his pieces are slightly worse, and especially this bishop, which is pretty bad, very restricted. So yeah, here there's enough compensation for black. For example, knight c4, just go back to b7. There's a lot of pressure on b5. So he takes, and most likely I'm playing rook fa8. And I'm getting 1 pawn back eventually, I'm pretty sure. And even while I don't, in the meantime, I have great piece activity to compensate. So okay, I played b6, queen c2, bishop b7, a3. Not bad. I thought it was a bit unnecessary, but it doesn't change much probably. Rook c8. Putting the rook on the same file as the queen always makes sense. I mean, the queen should probably step out of there as soon as he can do it. Not that it's urgent or anything, but The problem, for example, is rook fd1. I'm already playing b5. Now I can play it. And either I force him to move forwards or I exchange the pawn and leave him with an isolated queen's pawn, a situation where he doesn't really have an attack. Um, and he doesn't have the piece activity to support this typical structure where you normally need to be thinking about attacking on the king side, drawing some weaknesses from black, and that's never going to happen with such a passive piece configuration for white. A bishop bumping into its own pawn, the bishop on e2, that's not particularly active. The knight on d2 instead of c3. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not favoring the appearance of an IQP for white. And if he pushes, which was probably best, he gets a protected pass pawn, but I get an excellent square on d5 and a pretty strong blockade against the pawn. So that was fine. Rook ac1 though allows me to give him the IQP, and not the most favorable IQP position for white. It's not as active as white should probably want. And here there are a lot of options, but yeah, nothing comes out of knight b4. Apparently, I was really thinking of this because I thought I was actually getting something, but apparently not. He goes queen a4, and that's fine. I'm not capturing the queen, and I probably have to pull the knight back. So I think my decision here was a bit more principled because I want minor pieces to disappear. The IQP is very, very weak in endgames with heavy pieces. If the minor pieces disappear, this pawn is easily attacked by the heavy pieces. I'm going to put rooks on the d file, put a lot of pressure on it, and either his heavy pieces will be enslaved to defending the pawn or he will have to drop it. None of those are great options for white. So he goes queen a5, I take, queen a4, sorry, I take on f3, and he takes with the knight, which is good. He doesn't want to exchange more minor pieces, he should keep some of them. Play queen d5, not sure if it's the best blockading piece, but as I said in the game, it's pretty okay. I'm not getting faced with knight e5 because of the checkmate. So he exchanged. What I didn't see was bishop takes a6, honestly. And the whole point is that if I pin the bishop as it happened, he has bishop takes b7, which is a great way to bail out of this. Sorry. So yeah, if anything, he has bishop takes d5. I mean, if I take his queen, he takes mine, and he's not losing the bishop at all. But still, well, this wasn't something I was looking for. I just dropped the pawn, but I think for the same reasons as the sacrifice in the opening, the pawn sacrifice with b5 would have worked in the opening. This is also fine. In fact, the pressure here is even greater. This pawn could fall right now. It's not that I didn't want to pick it. Honestly, I didn't think of it even. I only saw this move, which isn't great, but still more than good enough. I'm probably getting the pawn back anyway, honestly, because I just invade here. I'm threatening rook c2, and he's probably losing a3. If he plays rook c1 to defend against rook c2, I have rook b8. I attack the bishop, and on the next move, I'm taking this. So not much to do about it. Like rook c2, bishop takes a3. And what happens in this endgame? Well, it's probably possible. I'm sure it's possible to hold with white. The thing is, it's uncomfortable. I mean, all things being equal, he has the isolated queen's pawn, which is rather weak in endgames. So I could keep playing on forever here, trying to make him uncomfortable. Probably objectively, it's fine for him, but it's pleasant for black, I would say. Well, nothing of this mattered in the game because he blundered. He was too worried about the first rank, and he didn't see that rook c2 it's just a fork that picks up the bishop, and there's really nothing on the back rank. I mean, I can take with both pieces because in worst case scenario, I have bishop f8 against any checks on the back rank. But I took with the rook because if queen a8, I can offer the exchange of queens, which is always nice when you're up a piece. And well, I'm also attacking the rook. He didn't see it, so he had to resign more or less immediately. Like he played 95. I just blundered the rook, and that was it. Well, hope it was instructive. I think it was pretty close until he blundered. Um, and I more or less got in one of your requests. I mean, the Tarash was asked in the comments of the last video, and even though this wasn't strictly Tarash, maybe I got to play d5 and c5. So um, I'll keep, I'll always keep in mind your suggestions for openings in this series. If you like the content, subscribe and hit the like button, and I will see you on the next video of the series.